Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to the Cambridge International A-Level Stream presentation. This is a webinar that we are doing for our grade 10 parents currently, and some of our potential grade 10 parents. We may or may not even have grade 9 parents who are looking towards their child's grade 10 choices for next year. So please be welcome, and I hope that you are ready to go. I'm just going to get one or two more people just hop on. We have a number of people here on the call, including our HODs of academics, Dr. Gens at DSG and Graham Crease at St. Andrews College. So a big welcome to them. I see Lisa Hobson is here, and she is our wonderful specialist who onboards all our new girls. So if you've got questions for her, you can also direct your way there. And I know that I've got some of my A-level staff with me to answer any subject-based questions as well. So please feel free to settle in. I'm going to talk very briefly for about 25 minutes. If you have questions along the way, pop them in the chat. If they're easy to answer, I know that Dr. Gens or Mr. Crease will just pop you a direct message. Otherwise, we'll field major questions at the end, and I'm more than happy to chat. Also, this is just the beginning of our engagement with you and our discussions, and if you want to chat further, I am available. So my name is Luella Sullivan. I run the A-level program at DSG and college, and I am looking forward to sharing what we do with you tonight. So please be welcome. This is the beginning of the presentation. So we are discussing the potential entry of your child into the grade 11 A-level stream in 2024. And the first thing I'd like to do is just play you a very brief promo video. I promise you it's brief, from Cambridge, that looks at what they offer from their perspective.
Cambridge International. To find out how we can work together, contact our customer services team.
Right, well, that's just a little bit from Cambridge International. Hopefully everyone's managed to get back onto the Zoom. If you haven't, or you've just jumped in, we have recorded this. We are recording this for your sake, and it will be loaded to our website and our various marketing platforms as well. So if you feel like you've missed something, you want to go back, you'll have an opportunity to do that. As I said right at the start, there is the chat function. Please feel free to put a question into the chat function. If possible, Dr. Gens and Mr. Crease may answer you in the duration of the presentation. Otherwise, we can look at some major questions towards the end. To introduce myself again, my name is Luella Sullivan, and I am currently the HOD of the A-Levels program at St. Andrews College and the Diocesan School for Girls. And a warm welcome to all our parents and our pupils who have joined us. I'm going to take you through a brief presentation on what we offer, and then leave it up to you to ask anything you'd like. So let's get going. Who or what is Cambridge Assessment International Education? Well, number one, they are the world's largest provider of international education programs and qualifications. They are internationally recognized for their high standards, and that means that Cambridge International qualifications are considered equivalent to, for example, a UK A-level. Moreover, it offers us entry into over 1,400 universities worldwide, including all universities and all USA Ivy League universities. Some of the things that are said about Cambridge Assessment International Education include the following. We interviewed and spoke to a number of university admissions tutors. 98% of them said our Cambridge programs offer students an excellent preparation for university, as well as helping them succeed once they're at university. 100% said that Cambridge students think logically and are able to present coherent arguments, and that they demonstrate in-depth subject knowledge. Moreover, the program study in the USA also indicated that our Cambridge students are more likely to enroll in university. They show a strong preference for highly selective institutions, and they graduate more quickly than a number of other students. If we're looking at what people actually say, for example, the Dean of Admissions at MIT, Stuart Schmill, said the following: Cambridge students are well prepared for our curriculum, and we find that they have a lot of confidence, but also they have deep subject knowledge and the ability to think critically. This is something that you're going to notice comes up again and again as we discuss what Cambridge does for our pupils. Critical thinking is one of the skills we prize very highly. On the other side, we've got Christopher Guttenberg, the Dean of Undergraduate Admissions at Duke University in the USA. And he said that Cambridge AS and A-levels prepare students well for university because they've learned to go into subject in considerable depth. He says there's that ability to understand the depth and richness and detail of the subject. And there you'll find that's the second pole of, or the second pillar of what makes up a Cambridge student, is this depth and detail of knowledge that is imparted upon them, but also that they learn to work with and glean. Cambridge AS and A-levels offers our students the following. Number one, it offers them advanced study in areas of particular interest. This is for your kid who is passionate about, say, for example, their STEM subjects, or this is for a child who is a humanities kind of candidate and really passionate about, say, English and history and literature. Moreover, as I've said before, it develops deep subject knowledge. But more than that, it's about developing conceptual understanding, asking the why, how does this exist and why, rather than just looking at what is the content I've got to learn and regurgitate. Moreover, we promote higher order thinking skills. It's very often said that our AS and our A-levels are the equivalent to completing a first year at university. The culture shock is probably equivalent, but the depth of knowledge and the rigor that our students engage in is also. In our school, it's structured as a 2-year course, as it is overseas. So in our grade 11 year, we offer the AS level in our first year. So this is our advanced subsidiary level, and sometimes called A1. And this is where we begin the foundational work that builds on the A-level choices that your child will make. That foundational year then leads into the A-level, the advanced level in the second year. That is our grade 12 class, or otherwise known as the A2 year. And this is where your child chooses to specialize in a number of subjects and really dig deep into what is their special area of particular interest. So what parents want to know is, what are we offering? We are offering the opportunity to pivot from the IEB stream at the end of grade 10 into the full A-levels course. So instead of taking an IEB matric in grade 11 and 12, your child would move into the AS and A-level program. Why do we want to do this? Well, firstly, we feel that it is imperative that we offer students who particularly want to study overseas the chance to apply for and be accepted into top international universities of their choice. Bearing in mind that Cambridge is not a golden ticket, that an average set of Cambridge results is not going to necessarily open doors at international universities. However, a strong set would most definitely do that. The second reason why we offer it is to stretch and enrich our pupils academically. Typically, this program appeals to what we call our high flyers or higher flyers, students who have a particular skill and adeptness or talent in certain areas, who find it really engaging to develop kind of a more advanced, rigorous, and in-depth study of their area of particular interest. Is it better than the IEB? That's a very simple answer. The answer is no. What we have to understand is that both the IEB Matric and Cambridge A-levels are highly regarded worldwide. They serve different purposes, and I suppose in making a decision about going forward, one needs to decide the direction in which you think your child may or may not be going. A-levels are more focused. They offer easier access to international universities. And while our IEB Matric is broader, it is in fact more suitable if you are applying to a South African university. So one of the ways in which one of the images we often use when we talk about the comparison between A-levels and IEB is that A-levels provides you with a field of study that is 1 meter wide but 2 meters deep, whereas the IEB Matric offers a field of study that is 2 meters wide and 1 meter deep. Both are equally valid formats in which to achieve a Matric or a Matric exemption, and universities overseas accept both A-levels and IEB results. In terms of the structure of our A-level stream at DSG and St. Andrews, we have made sure that we have engineered our AS level course to comply with South African university exemption requirements. So that means that all of our students do 4 AS levels, and then they take 1 IGCSE as a second language. Those qualifications, provided they pass all 4 AS levels with a D, and they get a C for their IGCSE, will make them acceptable to get a Matric exemption. And that means that at the end of the grade 11 year, provided that they've fulfilled those requirements, your child in fact has an exemption requirement that will allow them to university and apply a whole year before any of the rest of their cohort. If we have a candidate that is a top pupil, we often allow them the option of taking a 5th AS level subject. There is capacity in the timetable for this. It is dependent on teacher availability as well as timetabling. However, this is quite a challenge, and we don't recommend this for every student. Students looking to go into medicine in South Africa will need to potentially take a 5th subject, and that is something we would discuss one-on-one with you and the parent and the child concern. If you're a foreign student, like you would in South Africa, you can apply based on immigrant status to drop the IGCSE requirement and only take 4 AS levels. And finally, if you're not planning on studying in South Africa at all, your child may choose any 4 AS levels on offer. That is a decision that has to be made fairly early. What we don't want to do necessarily is close doors. So I often encourage our pupils to take the 4 AS levels and the IGCSE until they're further down the road in their studies and they've decided what particular options they fancy following. And we've had cases where students thinking that they're going to go overseas, and they've actually decided to begin their university career in South Africa before transitioning into, say, a higher sort of field of study overseas. Then in grade 12, our A2 year, our pupils choose 3 A-level subjects. These can be chosen from any of the AS levels taken in grade 11. Unfortunately, at this stage, because they're only doing an IGCSE second language, the second language option at A-level is not available. However, anything else that they can take at AS level, we offer for them to take in grade 12. Top pupils may have the option to take a 4th A-level subject, and Mr. Kreese will correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, to go into medicine in South Africa, you do need to take 4 A-levels anyway. So some of the structures of the A-level stream include a minimum entry requirement. The reason we do this is, number one, the program is still growing in size and we have a limited capacity. And so we need to ensure that the candidates we get are very strong and able, because the transition to A-levels is quite challenging. So the AS level, our pupils often really grapple with. They find their feet towards the end of it and they have a much happier A-level, but that first year is quite tough. One might liken it to the jump that you feel between, many of our grade 11s feel the jump between grade 11 and the requirements of grade 12 in the IEB system. So it's not an unknown, it's just that they're experiencing those growing pains a little bit earlier. So with that in mind, we ask our pupils to apply with a 70% aggregate for the grade 10 mid-year exams. So those are the exams coming up right now. And there may or may not be subject-specific entry requirements. This is not a hard and fast science either. And so a pupil who is borderline would be considered. We had 1 or 2 pupils on probation, for example, this year, and that is something that we may or may not offer, depending on the uptake and the popularity of the program. All our pupils will write exams in the October and November of their AS year. So that is in October, November 2024, if you have a child in grade 10. Those are exit level exams at that stage, but they do have the opportunity to rewrite their AS levels twice in the following year, should they not receive the result that they are happy with at the end of 2024. There are opportunities in 2025 to better those. Very often, all our maths candidates rewrite purely to make sure they get the best possible results. What is nice about our program in comparative to some other schools is that we don't bubble our A-level pupils. They are part and parcel of our school life and of our academic day. So subjects are timetabled similarly to the IEB. So your child will have 6 lessons a day. They will move between periods and classes in rush with everyone else. They are included in our academic, not our academic program, sorry, our sporting program, our cultural program. They are still part of their existing tutor group. They are part of all their grade activities. They go on camps with everyone else. They live in the house together with their friends. There's no desire here to isolate them or create a kind of specialized bubble. They are very much an important part of the lifeblood of our school. The nice thing about the fact that they only have 5 subjects instead of the 7 that our IAB candidates carry is that they will have at least 1 free period a day, and our AS children quickly learn that that free period is golden. They usually use that for work and independent study. In grade 12, we schedule more lessons per a subject than we do in grade 11 because of the depth and rigor of the study. It's equivalent to studying at a first year level. There's a lot of reading, a lot of preparation, a lot of homework that has to go into that. However, our students still have between 1 to 2 free periods a day in that timetable, and they usually use that for either independent study in the library, or in the case of certain classes, they will have a one-on-one tutorial period with their teacher at that time. The big question is, what do we offer? So it is important to understand that firstly, what we offer is constrained by the staffing that we have available at the school at the time, the pool of experience we have, and also the uptake for certain subjects. So I'll talk you through that as we go. This is what the AS program looks like, and I'll just take it step by step. So, wow, it all came on the screen at once. All right, so firstly, we take 5 subjects. So we take 1 from option 1, 1 from option 2, and 1 from option 3. Okay, so those are your subjects that are in black. And then our subjects that are in option 4, 5, and 6, your ones in color, are the ones that you get to choose. Firstly, in option 1, we offer the English language and literature course. This is compulsory. There are several reasons for this. The first being that no matter where your child goes in the world, they will have to engage, write, speak, connect, argue, discuss, construct using language. And so we like to make sure that we are not just sending out children who can do fantastic math sums or great experiments or who can argue economics, but who can actually write and read and engage with the world beyond them in a critical manner. So we make this compulsory for all of our students, whether they're going to South African university or overseas. One of the second reasons that we offer this is it is the only subject in which our entire cohort meets. It is the only subject that they all take, and it is really important for creating a group sense of identity and morale, as well as building relationships across the streams. So our science kids get to hang out with our humanities kids and vice versa. And we find it a really important space to be. This is 8695, the English Language and Literature course, is a write-off course. It's a single year AS credit for pupils interested in either taking language or taking literature, because those are two separate subjects for A levels. They are able to then choose a specialist or specialization at the end of their grade 11 year, and then they write the AS level for English language in the April of 2025, for example, if they take language, and then they will write the A level in the October of 2025. The nice thing is that this existing grade 11 course does prepare them for those AS levels, and there's very little jump to prepare for that AS level, but the rigor of the A level is what they'll usually be signing up for. Those of you interested in that, I'm more than happy. I know that I've got Abby Roberts-Gush here, who is our language and literature specialist, and she's more happy. She'll be happy to answer any of the questions at the end. Secondly, if you're going to South African University, you'll be required to take either IGCSE Afrikaans or French or isiZulu. So unfortunately, Cambridge do not offer isiXhosa at this point in time. It is a consideration and it is a little bit of a challenge, but we do find that most candidates who pivot to the isiZulu course do very well and achieve the baseline C that they require in order to achieve their exemption. Our isiZulu teacher is very adept at helping them manage this transition. In our option 3, we have mathematics, but the great news is here, and you might have 1 or 2 children who are very keen on this, is that one either has to take mathematics for a South African University exemption, or you can take biology. So if you take biology, for example, in option 4, you have no need to take mathematics. Taking biology at AS level will qualify you to go to a South African university. And then in option 4, 5, and 6, we have the rest of our subjects. We offer biology, we offer economics. Economics is really popular at the moment. We offer music, and it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 pupils want to take music, we always offer music. We offer chemistry and history. If there's enough uptake, we offer art and design, and the same applies to geography. If there's enough uptake, we offer geography, and in option 6, there's also physics. So our offering is geared towards ensuring that university exemption criteria is met. Often we get asked, why don't we offer psychology or sociology? Those are A-level subjects as well, and that's not wrong. Unfortunately, the South African universities do not accept those as legitimate subjects to qualify for an exemption, and so we have yet to offer them. Please note that although these seem to be in very striated options, that what we normally do is gauge a sense of who would like to take what, and we try best to build a timetable that accommodates as many wishes as possible. This is not always possible, and you may find that after applying that we come back to you and say, this is what we can offer, and this is possible and that is not possible. So when applying, please don't feel like you're stuck rigidly to these offerings. They may shift into different options depending on your child's preferred choice. A couple of things to consider at this point. If your child is intending to study overseas, the A-levels is a great option for them. If they're the kind of person who wants to study fewer subjects in greater depth at grade 12, then the A-level stream is a good fit for them. However, it's important to note that pupils should continue with the IEB stream if they intend to study at a South African university after school, and if they're concerned that they might struggle with the added rigor and depth of the A-level courses. And I cannot stress this enough, that even the most capable of academics do have moments where they find the rigor of the courses quite challenging. It's not something that can't be overcome. Hundreds of thousands of pupils all over the world do A-levels every year. But if your child is concerned and about that, it may be worth considering staying in the IEB stream. Another consideration for parents rather than children is that there is an extra cost attached to taking the A-level stream. In 2023, that was 19,440 Rand. It's roundabout in that area. For next year, probably in the region of 20,000 Rand. And this is to cover things like examination entries, books, courses, and so forth. It's also just something to bear in mind that should your child take an IEB matric and register for the IEB matric, they will pay a similar fee at the end of their matric year. This extra cost is applicable per annum, so you will pay it for grade 11 and then again for grade 12. So that's just something to bear in mind. Once pupils have started on the A-level stream, it is imperative to note that they are not allowed to change back to the IEB matric. We do this because we have to staff classes, we have to ensure numbers are balanced, we have to order books, we have to make sure that we have a sense of continuity, and we need pupils who are utterly committed to making their A-level experience work. As I said, things can get tough along the way, and we want to make sure that they are supported and nurtured in that space, but encouraged to stick with their decision. As I've said, some subjects that we need to consider are offered subject to sufficient demand. If there is a maximum number of places available for a particular subject, the top candidates will be looked at based on previous academic performance and allocated those places first, and then we will look and see what space is left, for example. If you have a child who is currently not in the maths extension class, please note that this is not a requirement for the A-level stream. All the AS level maths is covered in grade 11. And moreover, most of the content for the South African ABTs is covered in grade 10, and it can be caught up in grade 11 and 12 if needs be. In terms of our teachers, all of our teachers teach across both the IEB and the A-level stream, and we find this offers a lovely, rich diversity to the teaching that happens in both sets of classes. Most of our subjects already have experienced A-level teachers on the program. We've been running the program for 5 years. This is definitely not their first rodeo. All A-level teachers have also completed extra training through Cambridge, and this is through a number of extension courses, marking courses, in-person courses, and many of them engage in lifelong learning around their subject. Another thing to think about, and I know I've said this already, is that the grade 11 year is particularly challenging. One of the ways we've tried to mitigate this, and we piloted it this year, was to bring the start of the A-levels program into the term 3 of the grade 10 year. What this means is that the offers and selection process goes ahead prior to the middle of September in term 3, and after the balloon week half term in October, our AS cohort for 2024 will be moved out of their grade 10 classes and into their AS level classes. What this does is it buys us 4 weeks of extra teaching, and 4 weeks on A-levels is equivalent to about 8 weeks in any other context. And this means that we have a month to get ahead of lessons before we send our pupils on journey, and they get to participate in that wonderful experience. So if you're an A-level potential candidate, these are my grade 10s that I'm speaking to, or if you're a parent, the question to ask is, what does a successful A-level candidate look like? I think primarily they have a strong work ethic and the ability to work independently. They need a lot of self-discipline. They need to be incredibly determined and resilient. They need to show that they have excellent academic ability and very strong critical thinking skills. Moreover, and this is the most important one, that they have a deep and lasting interest in the subjects that they're taking at A-level. This is often a heart decision as well. So children who come into it knowing that they're deeply committed to the selection that they've made flourish. This is not again, as I've said, a golden ticket or a tick box on the way to university entrance. This is an educational experience that we're offering, and we are asking our pupils to be engaged and committed to that experience. The advantages of taking A-levels includes the fact that it is recognized as a premier entrance qualification for international universities. It does streamline the overseas admissions process as well. We work with a number of companies, including Global Education. You can Google them, they're South African, they're fantastic, who help place our pupils at a number of overseas institutions. Our pupils also benefit from the in-depth, rigorous, and university-style approach to learning, which very much gives them makes them the agent of their own learning and hands back the power to them. They also, those of them going to South African university, have a head start in their tertiary education. We've just had a girl come back from first year saying how much A-level maths set her up for a confident, happy start to her university career. So that's always good to hear. There are disadvantages. We need to make sure that your child has selected subject choices to ensure that they've received a matric exemption, particularly if they're entering a South African university. But more than that, you need to make sure that you've checked the faculty requirements if you're looking at specific overseas universities as well, to make sure that the path you've chosen for your child is the right one. Entry requirements to South African universities tend to be a bit more challenging. Whether you're looking overseas or at a South African university, in your subject choice booklet and on the FAQs, you'll find a link to the Cambridge Recognitions Database. This is a fantastic database. You pop over there and you put in the university that you're planning on attending, and it will, and sometimes the course, and it will spit out the requirements that your child is required to have. And it will have links to the specific university websites and areas in which it details those requirements. Another disadvantage is that the step up to Cambridge AS and A-levels is challenging. I know it seems like I'm on repeat here, but we want to make clear that this isn't necessarily the easiest of transitions, but we have done this before, and we have an incredible cohort of experienced staff who help manage that transition and support our children, both on a pastoral, but also in an academic space. This decision needs to be made by the end of term 2, and that feels very early. We require the subject choice form be filled in and returned to us, and we then wait on the grade 10 mid-year exam results. And once those are in and those applications are made, we begin to send offers out and connect with parents and talk to you and answer all your questions and go from there. Everyone wants numbers. So here are some numbers for you. In the last 5 years, our A-level pass rate has been 100%. 98% of our A-level subject results are in the A star to C bracket. 94% of our students have received A star to C symbols across their subjects. More than 3/4 of our A-level results were over 80%, including 38 A symbols. And in our first year of A-levels, all of our results for A-level biology, chemistry, and literature were A star or A symbols. So those are a few numbers, but I think the pupils are the more interesting for me. We've had pupils like Michael Velosa read a PPE at Oxford. Matthew Schaefer has gone to the Imperial College of London for mechanical engineering. Hayden John is currently at the University of St Andrews studying medicine. James Stadler was awarded first in South Africa for his AS chemistry results. And most recently, and we're very proud of her, Estelle Binas got first in South Africa and 4th in the world for her AS history results. So we do have some very exciting pupils coming through our program, and going on to do great things. I asked my AS and my A-level students to tell me what they thought the advantage of taking the A-levels in 2022 was. I have not edited these quotes at all, so you can see the way in which our English course contributes to the style of writing. Not all of these are English students, but they do write very beautifully. So one pupil says, beside the syllabus's aim at depth and understanding, the smaller cohort promotes close bonds and gives teachers the means to focus on each student's individual needs. This creates a safe space for curiosity and the exploration of new ideas. Another says, the advantage of taking the A-level stream would be that you're able to focus on the subjects you enjoy and get rid of those subjects in IEB. You see, I didn't edit this, that you feel aren't adding any value to your future degree. In addition, if you are someone who thrives on the IEB syllabus and wants to study overseas, I would strongly recommend doing it as you work hard and achieve the marks you set for yourself. It will open up doors to strong universities abroad. I think let's make some clarification there. I think there's people strongly recommending you do IEB, no, A-levels, not IEB. And finally, we get to dive into topics on a much deeper level in all subjects. Classes are much more interactive as they're smaller than classes in IEB. This is the case for most of our classes, although our English class is usually capped at 24, and that is the same size as our IEB class. They also say you get to be surrounded by a group of hardworking, curious and serious students. Thus, classes are pleasant to work in. A-levels opens a wide range of doors for the future. The work is difficult, but it's very rewarding. You get to have a strong feeling of independence, as much of the work must be done on your own, with support available from teachers as well. I absolutely did not prep them for this. This is in their own words. You can see the thing that comes up most is they enjoy the smaller size of classes. They enjoy the depth of and rigor of the learning. And there's a real sense of pride that comes through in how they feel about being part of this cohort. Well, that's pretty much me done. If you're looking for more information, I have shared these websites with you and information in your FAQs and your subject choice booklet. The Cambridge International website is your first port of call, and you'll see that I've also linked to the Cambridge Recognitions database. Please feel free to email me, l.sullivan@dsgschool.com. And more importantly, if you can track down an A-level student, grab them and have a chat with them and find out why they're doing what they're doing and how they feel about it. I promise you they'll be honest. There are also a number of links on the school websites to the A-level stream for 2024, including this presentation, a number of brochures, our subject choice booklets, some videos and entrance requirements for UCT, Wits, Tux, and Stellenbosch. So I'm going to leave it there at that point, and I'm going to ask if there are any questions, and maybe Dr. Gens, if you want to just maybe pass something my way. I haven't been following the chat as I've been chatting myself, but I'm more than happy to answer anything that's going on.
Thanks, Ms. Sullivan. It seems like there's nothing in the chat at this stage, so I'll give some time to people to type their questions and read them out as they come up.
Okay, great. I see there are a number of people.
Obviously did a stellar job and explained everything in detail, and no one has any questions. All right, here we go.
Right, Lindsay, please feel free to unmute. You're welcome to ask.
Let me just change the settings so that people can unmute themselves. There we go.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to know how the A-level results compare to IEB metric results.
That's comparing apples to oranges. So obviously the A-level results are set to an international standard. And one of the things that we ask our A-level pupils to get very comfortable with very quickly is sitting in a D and a C. So what we tend to find with A-levels, and this is how I explain it to our pupils, is that in the IB stream, you're an A student. So you sit up here and you just you tick along for, you know, most of your career. You're an A student, you get A's, you keep getting A's. When you move into the IEB stream, what happens is that we actually find that everyone sort of takes a bit of a dip right down to a baseline, because of course they're starting off new. And then from that, we work them towards that A. So some pupils make that progress quite quickly in the program. Other pupils, it's very incremental and we get them there slowly but surely. So to take the IEB results and the A-level results and put them against one another isn't really fair, because if we think about the fact that the minimum requirement for a matric exemption at South Africa, at a South African university on the A-level stream is in fact a D, you can see that they're already acknowledging that there's a slight more academic rigor to the A-levels in terms of that entry. What we do find though is that if you're looking to already to shoot the lights out in IEB and you've got your clutch of 7 A's and that's where you want to locate yourself, those 7 A's in IEB are going to open international as well as South African doors. So it doesn't matter. The same thing applies for your A-levels. A strong set of A-level results will open doors internationally, but an average set may not even open doors at a South African university versus overseas.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. A question from Marcus Courage. If your child is foreign, can they opt out of the 3 compulsory language options and add another subject instead? I think you did answer that in your presentation, but if you want to just reiterate.
Is it from Mark? Is that correct?
Marcus.
Oh, Marcus. Okay, so Marcus, one of the things that they will need to do is the English language and literature course. That's compulsory for everyone. But if they are a foreign student, they are allowed to opt out of the IGCSE language, and they do not have to do that at all. Lindiwe?
So how do the A results compare to other schools like St. John's or any other school in South Africa that offers A levels?
Okay, so we're very much on a par with St. John's and our other cohort that offer A-level results. There's very little difference between how our kids do and how their kids do. That's the luxury of the way in which the A-level stream is managed qualitatively across the board. So yeah, we are competitive in the A-level market with other schools in South Africa.
Denise Meyer, do you want to unmute yourself?
Thank you very much. My question is regarding the overseas or over-border students. So I'm thinking if they were to study in their own countries, they would probably for the A-level have sat just 3 subjects. And then if they apply to a South African university, they would be considered based on the 3 subjects. So I'm wondering if the students at DSG or St. Andrews, if they're over borders, when they apply to South African university, are they considered over borders, and is the criteria different for entry, or because they have studied in South Africa, do they need to meet the criteria for South African students?
That's a very good question. And I don't have all the information to hand. What I can say is this, is that there are actually several paths into a South African university. So we've chosen the most obvious one in terms of the 4 AS plus the IGCSE. But that is not the only way into a South African university. There are other pathways, which include, for example, 3 AS levels and 2 IGCSEs, or 2 A levels and 3 IGCSEs. So I imagine, because I know you're Ellie's mum, you know, that if you have done all the subjects, the AS subjects and the IGCSE, that qualifies you entrance on a South African kind of footing. You wouldn't have to get those results translated as such to apply to South African university. They would understand and recognize that. Whether or not it impacts you in terms of fees, I can't answer that. That is that would be a university decision, because I know that they often charge quite a lot more for over-border children coming into South African universities.
Can I chip in here?
Yes, thanks, Graham.
To get into a South African university, you need to meet the requirements for an exemption certificate through University of South Africa. Luella, you're right, there are a number of routes into that, but all of those routes are going to require more than 3 subjects. And I think what you need to just bear in mind is that we don't offer IGCSEs as a separate set of examinations. So if you were coming from overseas, you would be applying with 3 A levels, but probably also a set of 6 or 7 IGCSEs. In order to get into a South African university going through our system, you would need to meet the requirements in terms of number of subjects, which is why pupils would need to take probably four subjects would be the requirement, because then you would be able to apply for a conditional exemption, which excludes the second language, as you would on the IEB.
Thank you so much, Graham.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Any other questions?
See any in the chat?
Luella, there's a question on the chat about the Cambridge exams being at a different time to the IEB exams, and how do we navigate this with their peers?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can answer that as well, but it's pretty simple that they're actually pretty close to in sync. For example, the exams at the end of this year, the A levels will finish probably 5 or 6 days before the IEB exams finish. So it's actually pretty close.
Yeah, and our cohort, they have their own separate exam venue, and they write separately, and very often they finish slightly earlier than our IEB candidates in grade 12, but you know, that is how it is. They're usually quite like that. They often go on golf tours and to spas and things, and have an extra week, and then they return back to celebrate with their friends. The important thing to note is that as part of the matric cohort, we make sure that our A-level candidates are fully involved in that whole experience of that final year. There's no point in which they're excluded from any of those activities at all. Okay. Right, I think that is it.
I have a question.
Of course.
So you talked about an average of 70% as a minimum requirement. Now, that's the total average, and then there's the subject average. So I want to assume that if for your subject choices, ideally you'd have maybe 70% also. Now, for a student who's doing both physics and chemistry, the IEB combines the two. So that could potentially bring down a student's average, yet their chemistry they might be scoring quite well, but physics may be bringing them down, or vice versa. So do you consider the subjects separately when you're taking in consideration their acceptance into the A levels?
That's a good question. Again, this is not acceptance isn't a hard and fast science. So we start with a 70% average. We assume that our candidates coming in are academically able and strong. And then we go and we look very closely at those reports and those mark breakdowns. We talk to their tutors, we talk to their teachers, we go through the HODs who've gone through the results. So it's quite a rigorous process that we engage in. And it's not a simple matter of plugging a formula into an Excel spreadsheet and picking the top 20 and waving everyone goodbye. We have had cases in the past where we have made exceptions for students, provided that there's been a sensible choice of subjects made. So it's not a hard and fast science. We try to look at the student holistically as well. So we've had examples where we've had kids who've been incredible academics, but actually we've got them into the program, realize that they're not incredibly good at working independently and they've struggled, versus students who've been solid, but then have managed to find that independent learning streak and engage with the rigor that is put in front of them. So that's my answer at this point. It's not a do or die situation, and it's something that we can take into consideration. That said, as I said, if there's a limited amount of students who can fulfill a class, who can fit in a class, we do look at the strongest candidates first, and then we look at those below.
If I can just add to that, Denise, the physical sciences department does have their chemistry and physics marks separate, and because they kind of work separately anyway in the IEB, but together. So we are able to draw on that information. It is on hand. So if a candidate is particularly strong in, say, chemistry and not physics, and they wish to pursue chemistry, we would absolutely outweigh the lack of physics mark that is perhaps a bit lower when looking at the cohort entrance requirements.
Okay. Right. I am available via email, l.sullivan@dsgschool.com. Please feel free to touch base with me. I love chatting to parents. Your child is also more than welcome to pop in and have a conversation with me. I'm in Hodson Block 11 and I'm always open to having a little chat. And if there are no more questions, I'm happy to call an end to this meeting. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful evening, and yeah, go well. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you.